Hey everybody, this is Jeff from the Great Heights and Barely Controlled Chaos, and we're here in the new place. I kind of wanted to talk about what we're going to be doing, but instead, I actually have been following a bunch of different homesteaders, and one of the homesteaders that we follow, Just a Few Acres Farm, and I'm going to put a link up here in the cards and down in the description below, but he did a video about mistakes that as a farmer or a small farmer that you make. I kind of feel like as a small-time farmer, as a first-year homesteader, or first couple-year homesteader, mistakes are all you make. And I've spent, I feel like half of my feed has been about those mistakes. And so while I was thinking about trying to put a video together about, all the mistakes that we've made along the way, I basically end up just showing you all of our videos. But I thought it was worthwhile putting together some of the big ones. And so, so we'll talk about those. Just to prove a point that we make lots of mistakes. My children have actually made up a theme song that they want me to use as the intro and outro of our channel. I'm really hoping that we don't get to the point where that's all we show is our mistakes. It does seem like that because, like I said, a lot of our previous videos were basically showing mistakes. But anyway, I promised them as part of this video that I would let them sing it. So, take it away.
1, 2, 3, 4. Come and watch us make mistakes. Slap some people in the face for making dumb mistakes.
So, yeah, that's it. Alright, so one of the things that we've learned along the way, and if we've made the mistake multiple times, is trying to do things on the cheap. There are certain things that you can certainly do cheaply. You don't need the name brand whatever and then other name brand whatever to do things. There are things you don't want to do cheaply, but there are certain things you can do cheaply. You can buy the cheap pair of leather gloves at the hardware store, or if you can find cheaper plywood to build something, or that kind of stuff. But things like when everybody says use woven wire fencing for goats, don't go, oh well, the welded fencing will work. That's just not going to work. And what you end up doing is you either end up frustrating yourself by having to rebuy things, therefore spending more money, or you end up chasing goats around your yard all the time because the stupid goats poke holes in the fencing, and things like that. Certain things require that you spend a certain amount of money, and when you do that, if you don't do that, you're just going to end up hurting yourself in the end. So that's one of the mistakes that we've made, as I said, multiple times along the way. One of the other mistakes that we've made along the way is trying to do things with either the wrong equipment or not enough equipment. You've seen us try to roll large bales of hay across our yard. The large bales of hay were perfect for what we needed. They were so hard to move, and we lost a lot of hay doing it every time we did it. The last time we did it and we had the trailer and we used the tractor to do it, it was the first time we'd actually not lost a good portion of our hay trying to move it across the yard. Another example is when we were trying to put the fence up, and I was attempting to use the car as an anchor, and very quickly we hadn't even got it stopped and it started sinking in the ground. And that required us to spend a lot of time, spent the rest of that evening basically getting the car out of there and we just ended up, that didn't work. We didn't have the right kind of anchors to do that. We should have thought about other things. I remember my dad, when I was a kid, telling me that being a farmer was using what you have and making it work. Well, that's true to a point. And at some point, you got to realize that either you don't have the right equipment, or you got to figure out another way to do it with the equipment that you do have. And don't try to mispurpose things like a car out in soggy water or out in soggy ground to pull a fence or act as an anchor for a fence. So one of the other mistakes that we've made along the way is, well, it's kind of a two-stage thing. Number one, the first part of it is planning, and the other one is research. And really, it's kind of the other way around. A lot of times, and they do kind of seem kind of funny now that we go back and think about them, but not having done our research has kind of bit us in the rear end a couple of times. Not knowing exactly what our goats were going to need, and especially the sheep. We ended up losing a couple of them, basically because we didn't really understand what their nutritional value or their nutritional needs were. And despite the fact that we've been told that, you know, it was this, we should have done our own research. On the planning side of it, again, kind of funny now when you think back about it. The night that the sheep ran away, and then we had to chase it all over the yard, and I'll include a link to the description in the description below. Or when the goats ran away for 3 days right after we got them. Again, planning. We hadn't really planned for where they were going to be. The sheep we'd planned for where they were going to be, but we didn't understand how young they were when we got them, and that they needed to be brought out slowly. The goats, we planned on getting them, and we planned on setting something up. But I'm like a lot of guys, and I am hurry up and let's go do this. Let's make this happen. And because of that, we've a couple of times had to deal with some situations where things were a little bit complicated. Again, like the goats escaping and running away for 3 days, like the sheep that we had to chase around the yard and ended up, just ended up getting soaking wet trying to find. So, I mean, it's planning and research are two really big deals for anything that you're doing, but especially if you're going to start a homestead or if you're going to start a small farm. Take the time, and I know you're so excited, I'm going to start this homestead, I'm going to get this thing started. Do your research, take the time, build the infrastructure you need. Don't overbuild. One of the things that some of the other farmers that I've paid attention to and done some research following, don't overbuild your infrastructure. Don't go out and spend, way more than you need to build the infrastructure, but look at what you're going to need for the size that you're going to do. Maybe build the next step up, or maybe plan for the next step up, but make sure that you have stuff prepared for when you get started, because otherwise you are going to be scrambling, which a lot of times that's what we ended up doing, was scrambling, and that's no fun. Alright, so those are the mistakes that we've made along the way. That's a short list. We've obviously made a lot more than that, but that's a good short list of mistakes, and I think that covers most of the big ones. I have, as I said, hopefully we're learning from those mistakes. Hopefully we're not jumping in where we shouldn't jump in. One that I did forget, with the planning, we went ahead and bought 15 guinea hens. And the plan was, this field that I'm standing in right here is just absolutely alive with ticks and chiggers. And my goal was that we were going to raise these suckers up and then just let them loose in this field here. This is part of our pasture It is all fenced in. Unfortunately, what happened was we put them in the barn thinking, okay, they'll be just fine, and we weren't thinking about the half-dozen barn cats that came with the house. And so we are down to just 2 of the guinea hens that we bought. And this bug will not leave me alone. We're down to just 2 of the guinea hens that we bought, and it's kind of unfortunate because they were rather expensive. But that's not here or there. We plan to put them in something in the barn, or we plan to just kind of leave them in the barn, not thinking about the cats. We've since brought them in up on the porch and dealt with that. So hopefully at least the last 2 will survive. But we do have more chickens coming, and we have already put the infrastructure in place for that. So those are the mistakes that we've made along the way. We've made quite a few. Hopefully they're fodder for you guys to laugh at. I think it's hilarious now that I think back about it. But obviously you don't want to continue doing that all the time. And so our goal obviously is to kind of learn from these and move on. Now, as I said, if I tried to put together a compilation of all the videos, I'd basically have all the videos in a row. But I have linked everything down in the description box below. And for any of the other YouTubers that I've mentioned, I put cards up above, and included their links below. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and then like it, or excuse me, share it with your friends. Please, that's really what helps. Subscribe to our channel if you want to see more of what we're doing. We are doing quite a bit more in the near future, including getting some larger animals, things that we've never had before. We've done some research. We already have some infrastructure in place, which is things I've already talked about. So hopefully we'll have some exciting things for you guys in the near future. So thanks for coming to join us, and we'll see you next time.